What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. And I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $750 just yesterday. Another member who won $136 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members here, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. And also want to give a quick shout out to Valerie, who said, "What's good, baby? Let me catch a shout out. You pronounce my screen name as Valerie." So shouts out to Valerie there. Shout out to Ken CT, to RK, who said Dinero baby. Also shouts out to Friends Lopez, who said 1582, who said swag. And then also guys, if you do want to get a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below and like this video, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Kle Wear, and this one is for 13.5 points, and this one is for less. Now you may or may have not heard of Kle Wear before, but when we look at his last 5 games, we've seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those last 5, they faced off on March 20th against Detroit Pistons, where he had 14 points, then had 16 points against Houston Rockets on March 22nd, followed that by facing off against Charlotte on March 24th, where he had 12 points, then 14 points against the Golden State Warriors on March 26th, and most recently on March 28th faced off against the Atlanta Hawks, where he actually put up 7 points. Now Kle Wear has gone on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games, and his average over the last 5 as well is actually 12.6, so significantly below this line as well. Now the times he has gone on the over, it hasn't really been that convincing to us. 2 of those games he only made it over by 0.5, so just made it over by just sheer luck, in some sense there. But when it comes to Miami Heat and Kle Wear, they do have themselves an interesting matchup in this next one against none other than the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, as you all know, looking at both these teams, Philadelphia and Miami are in a bit of different situations. Now, when we look at Miami Heat, they currently rank 10th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 32-41. So they definitely have, an interesting record. They currently are in the play-ins. However, they are very close at getting knocked out of the play-ins if they don't finish this season off strong. So they are looking to play as hard as they can when it comes to these games. And on top of that, when you also look at 76ers, we see a little bit of a different story, because the 76ers currently rank 12th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 23-50. So they aren't too far off from rankings. However, it does seem that the 76ers are out of those play-in contentions, as it does seem that the 76ers main intention is to tank and is to try, to pretty much get as many losses as possible in order to get a high draft pick in this next coming NBA draft. So it's definitely a different situation for both of these teams, but when we look at someone like Kle Wear, we do like the under for this situation here. Now looking at the matchup between them, we actually do see that the Philadelphia 76ers do rank 20th when it comes to points allowed. So they do rank really low. However, the reason why we still do, like the under for this situation here is that when it comes to Kle Wear, he isn't really a main player for this Miami team. So we don't actually expect him to get that high of a usage rate coming into this game. So we definitely see someone like Kle Wear going on the under here. He isn't the main center. As we all know, Bam Adebayo is the main center, and we may not see him get the same amount of minutes, as like I mentioned, the Miami Heat are looking to try to win games as much as they can because they want to stay in a play-in contention. So Kle Wear had actually got a couple of great minutes here and there from time to time, but his usage rate usually does remain pretty low. He has been able to hit on the over 3 out of the last 5, but we think those are a little bit more outlier games. They are against also, teams where he did get a little bit bit more usage rate out there, but in this matchup, we don't really expect that to happen. Bam Adebayo is healthy to play in this game, so we definitely see, Bam taking a lot more usage rate away from Wear, and we definitely saw that in the most recent game when he only got 7 points. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. When we actually look at 76ers bench, which is surprising to see, we actually do see that the 76ers bench do a great job at defending, the bench for other rosters. So, they do a great job at defending that second unit. So we definitely see that taken into consideration in this matchup coming into this game. Now, when we look at Kle Wear against 76ers so far this season, you definitely see a very similar outcome. Now, like I mentioned, Kle Wear hasn't really gotten that much usage rate early on in the season. So on the first game that they did play on the 18th, he had 0 points and 0 of everything else because he only played 1 minute in that game. Now, Kle Wear recently on February 5th actually played them. He had 19 minutes and had 0 points in that game as well. So, Kle Wear, like I said, he had a little bit of the hot hand as of lately, but we definitely see him coming a little bit back down to reality and should see him go on the under in this situation here. So, for that reason, keep an eye out for the under. So, Kle Wear, 13.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Justin Edwards. And this one is for 15.5 points from Justin Edwards, and this one is for less. Now, when we look at Justin Edwards, we've actually seen him go on the under in 0 out of the last 5 games, and they do face off against none other than Miami Heat. So, when we look at, first of all, Justin Edwards in the last 5 games, we have seen him on March 20 facing off against Oklahoma City Thunder. He had 19 points. March 22nd, faced off against San Antonio Spurs, where he had 25 points. Then faced off against Atlanta Hawks, had 22 points on March 24th. On March 25th, faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, where he had 19 points. And then 19 points against Washington Wizards on March 27th. So, as you see right there, we actually have seen that Justin Edwards, has definitely gone on the under 0 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is 20.8. So we are looking like we are going a little bit against the grain on this one, but they do face off against none other than Miami Heat in this matchup. Now, we just recently talked about the matchup between these two teams. Just to, refresh your memory, Miami Heat, 10th in the Eastern Conference, 32-41 record, and then 76ers, 12th ranking with a record of 23-50. But when we look at Miami Heat, we do see that Miami Heat do rank 7th when it comes to points allowed. So there's a very, very interesting pick for us, and that is a big, big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. Miami just do a fantastic job at restricting points, and especially to a team like Philly, we don't really see Miami struggling too much. When we look at also Miami, we also do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting points to the forward position. So we definitely see Justin Edwards struggling here. Now, Edwards has seen an increase in his usage rate. Now, he has been scoring very well, and this is due to the fact that 76ers are definitely in tank mode. So you may have never heard of Justin Edwards before, and no disrespect to him, but yeah, since you haven't heard of him before, yeah, he is playing a lot more minutes, a lot more usage rate for this Philly team, and it has led to an increase in his usage rate. But now that they face off against a team like Miami Heat, who do a great job at defending forwards, especially in points, we could see this go the other way. That's a big, big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. When we look at the matchup and the pace between both of these teams, as you all know, we are expecting an interesting pace in this one. But when we look at Justin Edwards, over the last game he did play against Heat this season, they did only face off each other again once, which was on the 5th of February, and he only had 8 points in that matchup. So significantly below this line, which is very, very interesting to us. And that's a big, big reason why we do very much like the under for this one. He also had 24 minutes in that matchup as well, and is during a time as well, like I mentioned, it wasn't really that too long ago, where obviously 76ers, they have gotten, a lot of injuries and they continue to face it. So when it comes to this matchup, we definitely see Justin Edwards going on the under as well. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. I know, when you look at the average over the last 5 and also the last 5 games, it does look like we are going against the grain a little bit. But when you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have them favored for the under as well. So that works out in our favor there. So for that reason, Justin Edwards for 15.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Jayson Tatum. So as you all know, Jayson Tatum, great player, but this one is for 25.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, as you see, Jayson Tatum has gone on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games, and we look at some of those games, we see that they faced off against Miami on March 15th, where he had 28 points there, then faced off against Brooklyn Nets on March 16th, had 20 points there as well, and then 26 points against Utah Jazz on March 22nd. Portland Trail Blazers next had 30 points on March 24th, and then March 25th against Sacramento Kings had 25 points. So we actually saw Jayson Tatum go on the under in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 25.8. So when it comes to his averages, it has definitely been, a little bit slightly above this line, but nothing really too convincing for us. And even the times that he has gone on the over, it hasn't been that convincing to us as well. Only made it over by 1.5 to 0.5 at times. Now, when it comes to Jayson Tatum, they do have a different matchup against the San Antonio Spurs coming into this game. And looking at the San Antonio Spurs, we obviously do see that the Boston Celtics currently rank 2nd in the Eastern Conference with a record of 54-19. Now, they are pretty much set in stone because they have actually clinched a playoff spot already. So they are doing very well. Now, when you look on the other side of things, we also see that in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs are in a little bit of a different situation. They currently rank 13th in the Western Conference with a record of 31-41. So they've done a fantastic job there. Now, when it comes to someone like Jayson Tatum, obviously we are expecting the Spurs to tank because the Spurs, they don't have Victor Wembanyama, and on top of that, they are in a position where they are looking to tank in order to get a higher draft pick, which is what they want the most. Now, they do face off against Spurs, and when we look at the San Antonio Spurs when it comes to points allowed, we see that they do rank 23rd. However, the reason why we do like the under for this situation here is that the San Antonio Spurs actually do a fantastic job at restricting points to the small forward position, which is what usually, Jayson Tatum plays. But on top of that, a big reason is that we are expecting the San Antonio Spurs to tank early as possible, and it could actually lead to Jayson Tatum, since Boston have already clinched a playoff spot, to Jayson Tatum coming off as early as possible as well. So since both of these teams, have different motives coming into this game, we do very much like the under for this one. Now, when you also look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have them favored for the under as well, so that works out in our favor there. But when we look at a per position basis, Spurs do a great job at restricting points, and the fact that, obviously with Boston already clinching a playoff spot, we definitely have seen Jayson Tatum's usage rate decrease just slightly, just a bit by bit, because they have faced teams in the last 5 games that are in, teams that need the win. But with this one, we are expecting the Spurs to kind of call it out early, try to go on the under as quick as possible, in a sense of, try to get their stars out, tank as much as they can, so we could see Jayson Tatum get off early. Now, when we look at Tatum facing off against Spurs, this season, we only saw them verse each other once, which was on the 12th of February, and he actually had 32 points in that matchup. So he did very well. But, like I said, there was only one game to really go off, and now there is definitely a different situation due to the fact that both teams are in different situations. It definitely could have an effect on how this game actually goes. So we are still sticking to the under for this one. So because of those reasons, keep an eye out for Jayson Tatum. So Jayson Tatum, 25.5 points for less, I think is a great pick. All right, so as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Zach LaVine. So as you all know, Zach LaVine is a part of a brand new team, which is none other than the Sacramento Kings. Now, he has been with them for some time now, and as we all know, when we look at actually the matchup that they do face off against, Sacramento Kings do face off against the Orlando Magic. Now, before we get into his averages, I do want to talk about where, both of these teams actually situate, because it is a little bit interesting to see. Because Sacramento Kings are currently ranked 9th in the Western Conference with a record record of 36 and 37. So they are in a position to actually make a run in the playoffs, as they are currently in a play-in position, which is great to see. But on top of that, they are also very, very close at being knocked out of the play-ins, as the team at 11th has a record of 35 and 39, which is the Phoenix Suns. So when it comes to the Sacramento Kings, they need to finish off the rest of the season well if they are looking and wanting to actually secure themselves a play-in spot. Now, looking at, however, the Orlando Magic, we do see a little bit of a different story, because Orlando Magic do actually rank 8th in the Eastern Conference, so somewhat similar, with a record of 35 and 39. Now, they are currently in a similar position where they are actually looking at being in the play-ins. However, when it comes to their position, they are in a little bit more of a better position, as a team that currently is ranked 11th that would knock them out is having a record of 27 and 47. So the Magic will have to lose a lot of games in order for that to happen. So I think Magic are in a little bit of a better spot, while, you know, Sacramento Kings are looking to try to win this game as much as they can. Now, when we look at Zach LaVine so far this season, now this is a mix of his time at Bulls and also Sacramento Kings, but he's been averaging this season 23.1 points, which ranks him 20th, 4.4 rebounds, tying him at 97th, 4.3 assists, ranking him 57th, and then 51.2% field goal percentage, which ranks him at 29th. So he's done a fantastic job for this Sacramento Kings team. But when it comes to the Sacramento Kings, like I mentioned, they do face off against Orlando Magic. But when we look at Orlando Magic, we see that they rank first when it comes to points allowed, first when it comes to assists allowed, and third when it comes to rebounds allowed. So Orlando Magic do a fantastic job at ranking in all three categories, and we definitely see that having a huge effect on Zach LaVine's game, which is why we do like the under for this situation here. When it comes to someone like Zach LaVine, although he does have a decent usage rate, what we are expecting is that Orlando Magic are going to do a fantastic job defensively, as they do a fantastic job at also restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the shooting guard position. Now, when we look further, when you look at the pace of this game, Sacramento Kings are a fast-paced team. However, Orlando Magic are a very slower-paced team. Now, what we have seen time and time again is that Orlando Magic do a fantastic job at actually slowing down the pace of faster paced teams, and for that reason we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Zach LaVine going on the under due to the fact that an extra slower pace means to less volume for him in all three categories. Now, I wouldn't really focus on one or the other. I think he has the capability to go on the under in all three, so I definitely would keep an eye out for that in general. Now, looking at the last 5 games, we have seen Sacramento have had a little bit of an L streak as of recent. Now, they did win the most recent game against Portland, and Zach LaVine did have a pretty good game in that one. However, when you look at the other games, you've seen Zach LaVine go a little bit under on his lines at times. You know, against OKC, he only had 19 points. He did have 7 assists, but he also had 2 rebounds, so he was under in 2 out of the 3 lines. Another game, he had 14 points and also went under on, with having 2 assists and then also 5 rebounds. Another matchup where he had a 16-point game under his line there, and another matchup where at 8 points as well. So Zach LaVine's shooting and scoring specifically has definitely been a little bit on the under and a little bit underperforming as of recent, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next one. Now, I think all 3 categories, however, has a capability for him to go on the under, but we are expecting more of a line to come out for points. It is still, undecided whether there will be a line for rebounds and assists. So if points is the only one available, then definitely look at points in that category. But definitely keep an eye out for the under. If the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Bam Adebayo. So as you all know, Bam Adebayo, great player for the Miami Heat. And when it comes to the Miami Heat, they do have themselves an interesting matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, when we look at both of these teams, we do see somewhat close in ranking. Now, Miami Heat do actually rank 10th with a record of 32 and 41. So Miami Heat have fallen quite a bit. Now, when you also look at Miami Heat, another big sign for us is due to the fact that when you look at, the Miami Heat record of 32-41, they could be out of the play-ins, if they go on a longer losing streak. So this is, a little bit further since Raptors do have a record of 27 wins. So, the Heat would pretty much have to lose every single game and Raptors would have to win every single game after this in order for that to happen. But it is still possible at the end of the day. Anything can really happen. However, when you look at 76ers, they are in a little bit of a different position. 76ers currently ranked 12th in the Eastern Conference. Also have a very poor record of 23-50, but they are most likely out of the playoffs or the play-ins as well. Now, when you also see 76ers are in a little bit of a different position, they are probably going to look to tank in this game due to the fact that they are experiencing a lot of injuries and they have actually, called off playing some of their or most of their stars as much as they can, because they are looking to tank in order to get a higher draft pick coming into this next one. So we definitely see that being a big thing coming into this game. When we look at someone like Bam Adebayo, we have seen him so far this season averaging 17.6 points, ranking him 54th, 9.7 rebounds, ranking him 12th, 4.3 assists, which ranks him 56th, and then 48.5% field goal percentage, ranking him 43rd. So he has done a fantastic job for none other than Miami Heat. And when it comes to Miami Heat, we actually do see a pretty interesting matchup, because when we look at 76ers, we do see that the 76ers do rank 20th in points allowed, 25th in assists allowed, and then 25th in rebounds allowed. So we definitely have seen Bam Adebayo do a fantastic job, and against 76ers, we do see Bam going on the over in this one. A big reason for this is that when it comes to Miami Heat, they are also in a position where they are looking to try to win as much as they can. And if they are looking to try to win as much as they can, we are expecting Bam to have a very, very, high usage rate coming into this game. So Miami Heat want to stay in this play-in situation and try to make the playoffs. So we are expecting a high usage rate there. Now, when we look at, Bam Adebayo's last couple of games, we do see something very interesting. Now, some of these games, he's had some great games. He had 27 points, 8 rebounds, and also 1 assist against Golden State Warriors. Another matchup, he had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists there. Another matchup actually had 16 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds. So his usage rate has remained high. He may have not been able to, put on a show as he usually is able to, but his usage rate does still remain high. His volume is still there. And with a matchup like 76ers, who not only just do a poor job defensively, but also do a poor job defensively against a center position, we definitely see someone like Bam Adebayo being able to take advantage of that. So we definitely see him going on the over in this situation here. And when you also look further, when we look at the pace of both of these games, you are expecting a decent amount of pace, which should lead to a good amount of volume for Bam Adebayo. So definitely keep an eye out for Bam Adebayo. I definitely see a lot of value there for him to be able to go on the over, in all 3 lines. But if there was ones to focus on, I think points and rebounds is definitely where you want to focus on. A big reason for that is that Bam just has a higher usage rate in both of those departments. And, we definitely see him being able to take advantage, especially against this, injured 76ers team. So keep an eye out for his line there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Kristaps Porzingis. So as you all know, Kristaps, great player for the Boston Celtics, has been playing fantastic so far this season, because the Boston Celtics have been on an absolute roll, but they do have a matchup against none other than the San Antonio Spurs. Now, we look at both of these teams, we do see that the Celtics do rank second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 54-19. So they have also clinched a playoff spot, which is interesting to see there. And on top of that, when you look at the Spurs, you do see a little bit of a different story, as you see the Spurs ranked 31-41, ranking 13th in the Western Conference. So when it comes to them, they are definitely out when it comes to, them being out of the play-ins or anything of that nature. We don't really see them trying to make a comeback. They are most likely trying to tank as much as possible in order to set themselves up for a great future and get a higher draft pick. Now, when it comes to Kristaps for the Boston Celtics in the matchup against the Spurs, when we look at Spurs, we do see when it comes to points allowed, they do rank 23rd. When it comes to assists, they do assists allowed, they do rank 23rd as well, and then 25th in rebounds allowed. So, interesting enough there, we do see someone like Kristaps Porzingis being able to go over on this line. A big reason being as well is that Kristaps, it hasn't played that many games as of recent, so his lines have been coming out very, very, I would say the word is kind of unpredictable when it comes to his lines. Just have a lot of value to go on the over. Now, he is slowly starting to get back into routine. He was injured, not too long ago, but he is slowly starting to get back into routine. But I do believe the lines that have been coming out just had a lot of value to go on the over due to the fact that I think the bookies were just getting it wrong. And I definitely still see that happening in this next matchup, especially with Kristaps playing this game coming into it. He is coming off some big games as well. And against Spurs, who also don't have Victor Wembanyama, we definitely see him being able to take advantage of this. Now, when you look at some of his recent games, it definitely does show. He played against Phoenix, where he had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and also 2 assists, so went over in all his lines. Another matchup where he had 27 points, also 6 assists, 10 rebounds, went over in all 3 categories there. Another matchup at 25 points, 13 reps, 3 assists, so did great in that matchup. And another matchup where he had 24 points, 2 rebounds, and 0 assists in that. So, his consistency and usage rate has remained very, very high, and we definitely see him going on the over in this situation here. Now, when we look at the Spurs and Celtics matchup as well, we are expecting a little bit more pace from Kristaps in Boston, because due to the fact that Spurs are a fast-paced team, we actually have seen them speed up slower-paced teams, on occasion. So we definitely see that happening in this one. We could see Kristaps get a little bit more usage rate than needed, and because of that, just off sheer volume alone, we should see him be able to make a move to go on the over in this one. So keep an eye out for Kristaps Porzingis line. I see a lot of value there to go on the over. Now, I would definitely focus on points and rebounds, but either way, keep an eye out for the line. If it is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over. So getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Luka Doncic. So as you all know, Luka has been a part of his new team, the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season. Now, the Lakers are coming off a pretty viral loss, as they actually did face off against the Chicago Bulls. And on top of that, now they face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, this is going to be a very, very tough matchup, because when we look at both of these teams, we do see, starting off with Lakers rank 4th in the Western Conference with a record of 44-29. And then Grizzlies on the other side have a record of 44-29 as well, and ranks them 5th. So they are pretty much tied. It pretty much comes down to for and against, but both of these teams are needing to win if they want to secure themselves a playoff spot. They don't want to fall down too much, because they could see themselves in a play-in situation and knocked out of that top 6 category. So because of that, we definitely could see, Lakers and Grizzlies get a very, very high usage rate from both of these teams, and both of them taking this game very, very seriously. No tanking in this matchup here. Now, both of them haven't actually clinched a playoff spot just yet, so that's definitely something to take into consideration. And when it comes to, this matchup, when we look at the Memphis Grizzlies, we do see that the Grizzlies do rank 24th when it comes to points allowed. On top of that, 21st in assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed. We also do see that the Memphis Grizzlies do rank, a little bit better in this category, as they rank 9th, but we still do like the over for someone like Luka in the points and assist department, however. So now when it comes to Luka Doncic, we are also expecting that he may not play with Austin Reeves by his side. Austin Reeves is a game time decision. Now, we still do like the over whether he does play or doesn't, but if he doesn't, then I definitely think it is going to help out on Luka Doncic even going over on his line. But either way, we definitely like Luka going on the over due to the fact that Memphis Grizzlies also do a very poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the point guard position. So we definitely see those things getting taken into consideration coming into this matchup. Now, when we look at Luka Doncic and also the Lakers and Grizzlies matchup between both of them teams, we actually do see there is a lot of pace from both of these teams. So we are expecting a very fast-paced, high-volume game, and high volume for Luka is definitely going to be in all 3 departments. So there isn't really one to focus on. We all know Luka is an all-round type player, so we can definitely see him going on the over in any 3 of those categories. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Now, when we look at, Luka's last couple of games, he has been playing fantastic. We actually do see that he's averaged pretty well, especially with his new Lakers team, since he did get traded mid-season. But so far, he had a most recent game having 25 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, which is great. Another matchup having 34 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. Another one having 32 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds again. And another one of 34 points, 6 assists, and 8 rebounds. So we all know Luka can score. He can definitely distribute the ball, and he can definitely rebound. And for someone of Luka's caliber, especially against a team like Grizzlies who do allow a lot of points, rebounds, and assists, we definitely see Luka taking advantage of this.